We are taking a look at economic growth and how to summarize everything using the PPC or the production possibility curve. Now, why should that happen? That only happens when you have qualitative or quantitative changes in your factors of production or your resources. Now, when we talk of quantitative, it simply means the amount of resources you have may increase. Remember, resources are land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. So if the amount of labor, for example, increases through immigration, then you can produce more. If the quality of labor, so if people become more skilled and really good at doing what they are doing, then you are able to produce more even though the quantity has not changed. Now, if you have a combination of them, that's even better. So advancement in technology, labor productivity. Productivity simply means people can do more within the same time and using the same resources. Now, if you have more natural resources because you discovered more in your country, or you have the ability to go and grab what is in someone else's country, then you simply have more natural resources and you can grow more. And this, of course, will cause an outward shift in the production possibility curve. So here, for example, you had the initial PPC, and here you have the outward shift. Now, what causes this outward shift? It's always because you have more resources. That's the only reason why you have this economic growth. It means you have more resources, or your resources, the productivity of the previous resources have just increased. You have qualitative improvement. So you are able to produce more than before. So you have a higher production possibility frontier. So whenever you see this outward shift, you know we are talking of economic growth. Now, it's important to know that even though there is economic growth, we still face scarcity because here you cannot produce here. It's not attainable. Even though you can attain more, but you still face scarcity. You still face trade-off because you still have that curve. You have to give up so anytime you want to produce more when you are already on this curve, you have to give up more for the other. But if you are below the curve, you don't have to give up anything because you just use resources you were previously unemployed. You just use them. Okay, let's take a look at this graph to be able to explain the concepts which are here. So if you take a look here, you are producing two types of goods, and these are among the two major types of goods which are generally used on the PPC. You have capital goods. These are goods produced by man to be used to produce more goods and services. For example, you have factories. For example, you have schools to provide training to kids and so on. And you have consumer goods. Here, you just consume the goods. It's like going to buy a burger. That's it. Or you buy your salad, or you go on holidays. That's done. You've consumed it and you feel good. However, capital simply enables you to produce more. So if you use a small amount of your resources to produce consumer goods and you use a large portion for capital goods, suddenly you have a huge economic growth. That's true in your personal life. If you use a lot of your time at a certain age to gather human capital to acquire the right skills, then suddenly you'll find that you can command more, your income will be larger, or the possibility you have to be very productive will be so high. However, here, if you dedicate most of your resources just to consume, for consumer goods, and a small part to capital goods, then you will also find that the economic growth will not be really high. Now, if we move on, we see that it's possible for one sector to grow and the other to stay stagnant. So if, as a result of technological change, you have innovation in this sector, then suddenly the sector will grow because of the technological innovation. If you have it on both sectors, then all of them will grow. So wherever you have innovation, you will find that sector will grow and the other one will not necessarily grow. That's why you have such a situation. Suddenly, your production possibility curve can move to the right as a result of that. And here it's looking at it from both perspectives. Now, here we are saying point D is unattainable without economic growth. You cannot be here and you get to D. However, with economic growth, you can rise to D. Now, if we decide to put E here, it's still not attainable except the economic growth. Point B or C shows the economy is operating efficiently. So here, anywhere along the curve, you are operating efficiently, and points inside the curve, like point A, show the economy operating inefficiently. So you never want to be here, you want to be on this curve, and you want to make choices that will cause economic growth to take you to a higher production possibility curve. Now, let's rapidly talk about market prices, how market prices go about coordinating economic activities. Now, first of all, what is a market? When you think of a market, you are thinking of any arrangement that brings buyers and sellers together to enable them to exchange. It can be a physical location and it can be on cyberspace. So some of you buy on Amazon, that's still a market even though it's on cyberspace. So any arrangement that brings together buyers and sellers is simply a market. And we will also look at how markets allocate scarce resources. In other words, how it decides how scarce resources will be used. And we will also see what market failure is. So a market is the process of buyers and sellers exchanging goods and services. It can be local, national, global. It just facilitates trade. Whatever facilitates exchange, that's your market. Now, when you talk of buyers, you are looking at the group that determine the demand side of the market. So they determine demand in the sense they are willing and able to buy goods and services. So buyers include consumers who buy goods and services, and at times firms also need to buy goods and services. Now, on the other side, when you look at sellers, you are looking at a group that determines the supply side of the market. You are looking at firms and you are looking at whosoever sells goods and services. It also includes the resource owners selling inputs to firms. Now, when you bring the buyers and sellers together and they interact, prices are formed. So the interaction of buyers and sellers determines market prices and output through the forces of supply and demand. Just take the example of the housing market. Now, sellers are those who have houses to sell, and buyers are those who have the money to buy houses. Now, if you have more buyers of houses than sellers, then the price of houses will go up. Now, if you have more sellers than buyers, prices will fall. However, the optimal price will be the point of intersection between demand and supply, or where buyers and sellers meet as a point of intersection. So that will give you the market price for house and for houses. So in a competitive market is a market where there are a large number of buyers and sellers, not just one, but a large number of them. Now, one method of allocating resources among competing uses is simply the market system. The market tells you where you should put your resources. For example, if no one is willing to buy a good, then you don't want to invest your resources into something no one will want to buy. And if so many people want to buy and the resource is not available, then the market signals to people using the high price. The prices become so high that is where they should allocate their resources. So market, for the most part, are efficient and enable the economy to get the most out of its scarce resources. Buyers and sellers indicate their wants through action and inaction in the market. So their action to go to try to buy a particular good indicate their wants. And if they are not buying a particular good, if no one is indicating they want to buy a good, then suppliers move away from that because it makes no sense to invest resources to produce a good no one wants to buy. Now, how does the market allocate scarce resources? It is this collective voice that determines how resources are allocated. So by understanding what these market prices mean, you can get a better understanding of the vital function of the market system. Markets do not come with a moral compass. They simply provide what buyers are willing and able to pay for and what sellers are willing and able to produce. That's what the market does. So in a market economy like in Canada, private individuals and firms own most of the resources, and you have property rights. Property rights simply gives individuals the incentive to maintain, improve, and conserve their property to preserve or increase the value. So when you think of property rights, if you have your phone, no one can take it from you. You have property rights on it. You can do whatever you want on it. You can improve how it looks. You can sell it, and it's within. If someone messes with it, you can take them to court. The government, on the other hand, defines and protects property rights using the legal system and public policy. That is the only reason why the market economy works. Without property rights, we are in trouble. If someone can feel free to come and take your house, then we are in trouble. So market failure is when the economy or the market fails to allocate resources efficiently on its own. If you take a course of environmental economics, you'll find that we spend so much time talking about market failure. So this leads to underproduction or the overproduction of a product. It distorts the market because in principle, the market should be efficient. There should be no underproduction, no overproduction. Resources should be used efficiently. But when you have under or overproduction, we have market failure. This simply distorts the market, and this distortion can be due to market power. We will have the opportunity in class to talk about what we mean by market power. So we need government intervention to solve the problem of market failure. We'll talk about a circular flow diagram in the next video.